Bam! Oh man, I was watching the animated Spider-Man where it's just like, hey, popped in my head. Anyway, hello self. So today's your birthday. Woo! What fun. And I think this is actually pretty applicable for a birthday conversation, but I want to talk about something that you've used a lot to help you solve issues with anxiety, and how recently you were using it and you discovered a really cool thing about yourself. Or not a very cool thing, but a good thing to know. Anyway, so in cognitive behavior therapy, there's a trick that you can use to solve anxiety issues. It could be anything, like if you were in an e-sport competition, you had really sweaty hands, and you're like, oh no, my hands are sweaty, so I'm gonna shoot worse, and then I'm gonna probably lose, and if I lose, I'm never gonna have a successful Twitch stream, and I'm never gonna make it in esports. That's anxiety. That's known as catastrophizing, where you start in a place that's real, sweaty hands, and then you end in a place that's really a big leap, like you'll never succeed in esports. You see, each one of these little parts of this, almost like a chain, makes sense, where you're like, sweaty hands could make your aim worse could make you lose a game, losing a game could make it harder to get a good Twitch stream, not having a Twitch stream could make it harder to be successful in esports, but the thing is that giant little rainbow of a jump there is huge, and not what you should do. And that's what makes this technique so helpful. The first thing you do with it, of these three pieces, is that first you think about the worst case scenario. So if you did have sweaty hands, what does that actually mean? Other potential competitions. Your sweaty hands in the esport thing wouldn't necessarily stop you in playing a game. It could be something that you can still just try again. Keep practicing. It's not the end if you don't succeed in this competition. It doesn't mean you will fail completely. There are other competitions you can do. Now, that's the first technique. The second technique is finding that spot right in the beginning where it's about the sweaty hands. So basically you're like, okay, my hands are sweaty, well, I should wipe them on my pants. That might help. Or my hands are sweaty, my aim might not be as good. Well, positioning is really important. Timing's important. There's a lot of different pieces in any video game that you're playing that isn't just aiming. So that will help you think about how you can manipulate the situation to avoid the sweaty hand problem. You have options to mitigate. Both of these are great because they provide you agency, the ability to react to the thing that's affecting you, whether in the worst case scenario or in the currently happening scenario. The final bit is to look at people in relatedness. Basically, what if somebody else had sweaty hands? Do you think they would be unable to become a success in esports? Probably not. You wouldn't necessarily look at someone else and be like, I don't think you're going to be successful because your hands are too sweaty. Now, I wanted to tell that story because it's a little bit of an intro for me, because I feel super embarrassed about my anxiety thing that I had, but it's okay to be embarrassed, and that's why I'm talking about it. So I'm kind of worried that I'm going to lose my hair. It's my birthday, that kind of happens. I've seen that I have a bit of a receding hairline, and the thing is, my hair looks great, and I like it. I started getting this worry that I'm going to be less successful as a video creator because I would be losing my hair. It wouldn't look as good, and if it doesn't look as good, then I would feel less confident. And if I'm less confident, then I'd be less interesting. If I'm less interesting, then it's harder for me to have a good show, and if it's hard to have a good show, then it's not gonna work, right? Like, that's catastrophizing. I have this assumption that losing hair could mean that I won't be successful on the internet. Now, if I wanted to actually apply this, well, if I'm not successful on the internet at the very end because I don't have good hair, well, I could do voiceovers. I could wear a hat. I could have wigs and I could be like the wig guy who, when I wear a wig, it's like I could have a red wig or a blue wig or like a giant wig that comes up like anime, right? Like I could have lots of different styles to kind of own me not having the hair that I thought I would keep forever, right? That would be the worst case scenario. Well, if I did the other thing, phone, it is my birthday, so people are saying happy birthday. Thank you, everyone. So the other piece of it is what can I mitigate now? Well, there's actually things like finasteride, which is a type of pill that you can take that helps you keep hair. There's things like Rogaine. You put it in your hair, it's a foam, helps you grow your hair. These are all things that I could do to keep my hair. I could also cut my hair in certain ways where it doesn't look like it's really receding. Right now, once you can see that, it looks pretty typical. It doesn't look like it's really falling away or going away or anything. So that's awesome. And then the final two, right? Like relatedness. Have you seen these two people before? This is Graham. I think, how do you pronounce his name? Graham is how American. Graham. Graham Boyd works at Xbox, constantly is on stage hosting. Andy Salisbury. I worked with the guy. Great dude. Was one of the faces of Mixer Corporate for a while. Also is working at Halo. Both Caucasian guys without hair. They're working. They're doing it. Like, here's the connection that I can look at and be like, okay, it's not as big of a deal. I mean, my dad's one of the most attractive guys that I know. He also doesn't have a lot of hair in his head. And so it's like, I don't have to be afraid. Now, I've played video games and they look like this. This is the hero character I play as. This is a guy named Kublai Khan. He's a bald Asian man with a mustache, and he's been in Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, Monster Hunter. He's been in so many games. Skyrim, he's been my ideal hero archetype, who I fantasize to be as. And I'm still really worried about my hair. And I think it's because I don't see myself as a hero. I don't see myself as Andy or Graham. It's like a self-conscious thing, where it's not that I'm losing hair and that means someone else isn't going to be as successful. It means that I would be less successful. It's a self-esteem issue. I don't feel like a hero. And that, I think, is one of the best things for me to realize from the CBT method. As I go through the cognitive levels and I realize that there isn't any reason for me to really be that worried, what then is why I'm worried? And I think it's that. I think there's a sort of this missing part of self-confidence, this trust that I would be unable to do this. So, the lesson for me here is when I'm in the moment, whether my hands are sweaty in a competition or whether I'm worried about losing my hair over a long period of time, going through what's the worst case scenario and how would you react to it? What's the current scenario, how would I react to it? Are there other people? If I could put it on them, do you think they'll be successful or not successful? And then the most valuable one that I found recently, which is the core belief that is driving the anxiety. I trust myself now. And the thing is, the moment I realized that it was because I was worried about me not being able to maintain in some way, then I was like, oh, I can work on that. I can do this. So, that's the lesson for me.